All right, teachers and other faculty of American Heritage School, but mostly teachers and teachers' aides and perhaps even substitutes that you would be needing throughout the year. I'm going to show you a little bit more about the family school. You're going to receive an email, or you already have received an email with your credentials to log in here and access the literally tens of thousands of resources that we've prepared to help our off-campus mothers and fathers, grandparents teach history, literature, science, geography, art, and music. And I can see two uh, probably likely scenarios where the family school may be a helpful resource for you. And one of them is just in helping you to prepare lessons, full lessons perhaps, even just parts of lessons, activities within lessons, handouts that we've created, videos that we're linking to. Everything that you'll find here is approved to be used in your classroom, so it doesn't need to go through the same approval process that other resources would have to either. So that's a nice, helpful, time-saving step that you don't have to take when you use a family school resource. The other way that I could see you using this is to point a substitute or an assistant teacher when you're not there. If you need a ready-made lesson plan, then there are thousands of those as well. And for classes from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade for those subjects. And I'll show you what those are right now. So if you're logged in, like I'm logged in here, and you go to courses, you can see all of the courses and curriculum and resources we have for art, geography, history, science, music, literature. Same thing for 912 over here. We call it English, and then high school science, fine arts. That's art and music in most cases, history, geography, and there are a number of good electives and math. So if you teach any of those classes at any point throughout the year, then guaranteed there are some good resources here that could save you some time or just enrich what you're already doing, potentially. The first one that I think is probably the most common is you want something to supplement what you're already doing. You already know what you're teaching. You have a lesson plan for it. You've taught it for a year or 10 years or 20 years. And you just want to see what the family school has along those same lines, or for that person, or for this holiday or event. And you would use this family school search engine. Just click on this magnifying glass here at the top. And if you're studying Civil War, time period in history, then you can search Civil War, and you're going to see any number of links, resources, and lesson plans. Lessons are full lesson plans that we've created, and then the links and resources are the handouts and kind of outsourced or crowdsourced resources that other people and organizations have created that we're just linking to. I'll give you another example here. Maybe you want to study Abraham Lincoln within the Civil War. And same thing, you see any number of links. You can click on these. This is a lap book activity. This is a digital download that our families can have here. Here's a craft that we found on scholastic.com. Anytime it says link, it's not ours. It's not something we've created. We just found it, and it goes along with the lesson nicely. If it says resource, then it is something that we've created, and you can print these off and use them freely. Here's another resource. This is an activity that's used within a lesson, where it looks like the children are asked to identify different characteristics or draw pictures that illustrate or represent Abraham Lincoln. And you can see there are just several. As we go through, you'll also see if it's green, it's a lesson or a course. In this case, it's a lesson. We'll just click that here. Maybe you want to see the full lesson plan. And this is getting into the second way that you would potentially use family school. Maybe you have a substitute, you didn't have time to prepare anything for them, and you're talking about it, you want them to teach a lesson on Abraham Lincoln, then this is where you need to come. Just go to the lesson. The entire lesson is scripted with all the handouts, activities, the academic concept, in the research section, then the reasoning section, the relate. Let's just go through this lesson, in fact, and show you a few parts of this. there's a plan and prepare section before mother would teach this lesson. They go to the plan and prepare section and click on home preparations and see anything, if you're going to teach the whole lesson, anything that's needed for that lesson. Some new vocabulary perhaps that the lesson uses, any resources that the lesson asks for or that you would potentially use as handouts that you could print off, and then any tips from members would be posted here and things that they did that were different from what we had in the lesson. Well, let's assume you're all prepared for the lesson, you've read through it, and now we're teaching it. At the beginning, there's always an attention activity. This one, it looks like we are, when Abraham Lincoln was a boy, one of the foods he ate quite often was small cake made of cornmeal. Oh yeah, so you've prepared this cornmeal and you give them all. Mother would give her children some of this cornbread. This is always at the beginning of every lesson, there's an attention activity where they're standing up, they're acting, they're eating something, they're dancing, they're singing something. And then the lesson starts with the research. Show the picture, this picture. You can click on any of those links and open them up full screen. And then there was a question, what did you notice about him? And I think throughout this lesson, it's just getting the kids to talk about his physical characteristics. Give the children a copy of this Abraham Lincoln character chart. This is what we saw through the Family School search engine, but now you see it in a lesson. You can print that off and give one to each of the students. Please read one of the stories from each section. Anytime you see this arrow, it's instruction to the teacher. And if it's not in italics and behind an arrow, then it's script. And so a teacher could read it. Most of the families don't read from the lessons, but if they need to, they can. This activity is read one of the stories. Here are a number of stories from the life of Abraham Lincoln, and it just invites you to read one or two or three or however many you want to read of different experiences of Abraham Lincoln. Look at the pictures you drew and the character traits you wrote. How do you think these character traits prepared Lincoln to become a good man and a good leader? Honest, diligent learner, kind, hardworking. Anyway, we're going through this academic section, and we get to the reasoning section. And in the reasoning section, we always, and it doesn't always happen this way in your classroom, I know, but just for simplicity and consistency, we always introduce a gospel principle in the reasoning section. It seems like the easiest, most genuine place to do that. Honesty is more than not lying. It is truth telling, truth speaking, truth living, and truth loving. That is the gospel principle. You'll see how this relates to the research. One of the reasons Abraham Lincoln was so beloved and respected is that he was always honest. People could trust him. It asked to discuss the stories that were read earlier in the research section and how it illustrated or how it showed Abraham Lincoln's honesty in those experiences. Quote from James E. Faust. When did Abraham Lincoln not tell a lie? It always has the answers. Every time you see a bullet point in a lesson, there's a question behind it. And even if the answers are really simple, we still provide the answers or possible answers after that question. When did Lincoln tell the truth? When he explained what happened to the owner of the book he ruined. Sometimes you'll find something like this. Read the following. Honesty is more than not lying. So there is a link that we need to have here that's not posted. So if you find something like that where it's asking for something, you can just email us, and it doesn't take us long to activate that link. Or you can just skip that section. Now relate. You'll see everything changes to how this applies to them. Let's practice being honest. I'll describe a situation where you could choose to be honest, then you can act it out and show what an honest person would do. Your mother asks you if you finished your math assignment. You have not finished it. What do you do? That's never happened. You are playing a game. No one is watching. You could move one piece ahead. What do you do? Being honest is an important part of following Jesus. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you get the idea. There's a song here. Let's sing I Believe in Being Honest. It just links to lds.org where you can play it from there. I don't have the flash player, but you probably do on your PC. At the end of a lesson, we make connections to 7 Principles of Liberty poster, or we ask the children to make those connections. We review the academic concept and gospel principles that were taught in this lesson, and then we recommend a read aloud. We recommend books that go along with the content of this lesson they can choose from. And then this is probably the part that will be most helpful to you, is in the record and share section of the lesson. If you open up record, you can see activities and assignments for preschool to kindergartners. Thinkers, who we call the early elementary students, activity and assignments for them. Planner, activity and assignments, scholar, and even high schoolers for a lot of these lessons. And so, although this is intended to be used with with children of various ages, multiple children of various ages, it has at the end of each lesson age-specific or age range assignments and activities that you can choose from. And like you can see here, there are 10 options there for children. In the enrichment section, there'll be a lot of other ideas: family follow-up, object lesson activity, play the Tower of Flower activity here, further study assignment or idea, a craft. And so that's one lesson. And you can see in this one lesson that we have, let's look at the number of resources we have in one lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 6. So 20 plus resources, and however many more ideas. And then, of course, all the academics that the authors have written. So it's a lot of content, and we feel like this is a resource that we've developed for homeschool moms, but it has some really good application in classrooms and could potentially help you. So again, use the Family School search engine, type in whatever you're teaching or whatever you want to teach, and look for these lessons or look for the resources to support your lesson. If you want to just look at our course, each of our courses, if you study U.S. history this year, then you may just go to the U.S. history course, which is in Revolution and Change, or the New World Was Settled, both of them, and the Gospel is Restored. We have several courses that would cover some of those periods of time. Open up the course, and then you can see the units of this course, events leading to the American Revolution, and each of the lesson plans. Colonists, Taxation, First Great Awakening, French and Indian War, Paul Revere, Declaration of Independence, and then another unit within this course, the American Revolutionary War, other revolutions, the United States Constitution, and expanding America. You can find resources that way. So if you want to look a little broader, then this is the way to do it. Just go to courses, click on the subject that you're interested in, look at the courses that we have. Sometimes course titles won't tell you much, like Strengthening Character. I don't know what that means. I can read the description here, or I can just open it up and see each unit. I can see that in this year of literature, we're studying Lehi's Vision and the Iron Rod and Tree of Life, The Merchant of Venice, Mythology, Carry On Mr. Bowditch, Emily Dickinson, A Little Princess, and these are all books that you're also reading in your classrooms. And again, there are these wonderful lessons. If I was reading Carry On Mr. Bowditch, I'd for sure, as a teacher, have a look at these 8 lessons that we've written. Okay, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, or you can just come up to my office. I work up here in Outer Darkness of American Heritage School, where I'm out of sight, out of mind. I love it. It's up by the science rooms above the math second floor, in the corner there where Kaysen used to work. So if you need help, you can come up and talk with me, or you can talk with Elizabeth Henderson, who is probably the better one to talk with. She's talking with mothers every day about any number of topics and ideas and how to use the family school. And so she's a really good resource as well. All right, have a great day and hope this was helpful.